Seasons, a devotional series here that's based on my book by the same name. And today we're going to be taking inspiration from the book and the chapter in the book, Everything Else Pales in Comparison. And I begin with a quote by our beloved Billy Graham. And Dr. Graham is talking about temptation here. Suppose someone would offer me a plate full of crumbs after I had eaten a T-bone steak. I would say, no thank you, I am already satisfied. That is the secret. You can be so filled with the things of Christ and so enamored with the things of God that you do not have time for the sinful pleasures of this world. I love this quote because I too have realized that the things of heaven have caused the things of this world, those sinful pleasures of this world, to pale in comparison. And don't misunderstand me, I'm not talking about the beauty of creation or beautiful music or friendships or anything like that. I'm just talking about those things that would try to disguise themselves as something that will actually feed our soul. However, I have grown dissatisfied with a lot of things that once brought me pleasure and that I used as escapism. Television shows that appealed to me many years ago now seem a little bit off kilter, as if the color and sound on my television needs fine-tuning. Popular music and artists who once held a huge emotional pull on the heartstrings of my life now seem slightly manipulative and cloying. If you've ever taken a whiff of an inexpensive knockoff perfume or cologne, you'll know what I mean. C.S. Lewis describes this longing for the more, for the real, for the authentic in many of his books, but I'm going to be quoting from The Magician's Nephew. And to catch us up to speed, young Diggory has just returned to the everyday world of his London row housing, and he races up to his mother's sick room, carrying with him an apple that he picked with permission from Aslan's garden. In Lewis's allegories, Aslan's garden and country always represent the kingdom of God. I'm going to quote a small little tidbit from the book. The moment that Diggory took the apple out of his pocket, all the colorful things in his mother's room seemed to have scarcely any color at all. Every one of them, even the sunlight, seemed faded and dingy. The brightness of the apple threw strange lights on the ceiling. Nothing else was worth looking at. And you really couldn't look at anything else. And the smell of the apple of youth was as if there were a window in the room that opened on heaven. Do the things that once brought you a little bit of guilty pleasure seem lifeless now? For example, perhaps you love to binge watch your favorite guilty pleasure show, and you have just been sitting with anticipation for the next season. And that day, when that first episode of a new season arrives, you sit in front of your TV screen or your computer, and that opening credit starts, and within 5 minutes, you've got this vague feeling that the show isn't quite what you thought it was going to be. You've got a choice at that moment. You can press on through almost as if it is your duty to watch this series to the end, or you can ask yourself, why am I feeling so discontent, and why can't I just get into this episode? Could I encourage you at that point? Don't allow yourself to be on the constant hunt for the next best thing. and for the new and the exciting to fill a void in your heart that only God can fill. If you have been hungering and thirsting for more in your life, for the real, for the tangible, for the authentic, could I encourage you to satisfy that thirst on the living water of God? After all, nothing can compare. Everything else pales in comparison. Isaiah 55, verse 1 and 2. Come, everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and he who has no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. You can cut your cable. Why do you spend money for that which does not nourish your spirit? And why do you labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen diligent to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourself in rich food. And that food is the type of food that comes from God's kingdom.